Hi, everybody. This is SAAD for the SAAD Truth. This past Saturday, I participated in the event titled The Stifling of Free Speech on University Campuses that was held in Toronto. This was the rescheduled event, incidentally, at a much larger venue of the event that was originally scheduled for August at Ryerson University. There was quite a bit of security present, and also there was a lot of police presence, which of course is a sad indictment of the realities that are taking place across the West, where holding an event on freedom of speech is considered a dangerous endeavor that we need massive protection. But in any case, thankfully all went very smoothly. There were no agitators, no violence. I think I could speak for everyone who participated in the event. We were all overwhelmed with the love and support that we received. I suppose that the only negative quote stain on the event is started with when a individual asked in the Q&A period about why is it that Faith Goldy was not included in the rescheduled event. And Jordan Peterson answered the question, and then I offered a few sentences after he was done. I wasn't planning on doing a SAAD Truth clip on the matter. I didn't think I needed to, but I suppose that I saw, that I was tagged in many Twitter exchanges regarding the matter, and so I thought that maybe I would add a few additional comments just to contextualize the decision. I was originally approached by Serena Singh, the organizer, who, by the way, is a private citizen who is not part of any organization in doing this. She is using her own money, her own time, her own blood, sweat, and tears to organize this whole thing. And I would implore all of you to think for a moment what it takes to organize such an event using your own money, your own time, your own reputation, putting your own neck on the line as you think about your armchair outrage. But in any case, she approached me and asked if I would participate in the originally scheduled event. And at that point, she had stated who the other panelists were. So I had nothing to do with who the other choices were. I was simply told who they were and asked if I wanted to participate, and I was happy to do so. So again, I had no decision. There was no decision on my part as to whether Faith should or should not be included in the original event. So now fast forward to the actual time when the event was supposed to happen, and then Ryerson decided to cancel the event for security reasons, etc. And then when Serena was trying to decide whether she should move forward or not, she came to us and said, well, here's what I think should happen. And she was certainly of the opinion that it might be now problematic to invite Faith for all sorts of reasons. But, I'd like to add a pragmatic reason on her behalf. Serena is the one who is putting her money on the line, her time on the line. To the extent that Faith at that point was viewed as someone who is divisive, corrosive, rightly or wrongly, it is perfectly fair for Serena to say, well, in light of this new information, do I want to spend a lot of money, of my money, hard-earned money, and then have the event canceled again, and I might lose this money? So there's the pragmatism associated with, would the event be shut down, and would that be a good thing, in a general deontological sense, but also in a very granular, pragmatic sense. Serena has every right, given that she's putting everything on the line, to decide whether it suits her fancy to have this person or not. Okay, and she asked our opinion. I believe we held a very sober phone conversation. All of the participants, excluding Faith, we offered our inputs, and then it was decided ultimately by the organizer that she should not be invited. I'm not saying this to shift the quote blame. There is no blame to be shifted, but I'm not shifting the thing on Serena. I'm simply saying that contrary to some of the rumors that are floating around in social media, this wasn't a conspiracy by the Jewish cabal or the Jordan Peterson SAAD master puppeteer school of diabolical evil to go against Faith Goldy. We were asked our opinion and we provided it, looked at the pros and cons. Now, if Faith would have been invited at that point, if Serena had decided, no, I want to invite her, I would have still showed up and participated. If Serena decides for whatever reason that it doesn't suit the event at this point to have Faith there, well, it's rather idiotic for people to think that all the panelists would say, what? You're not inviting Faith Goldy anymore? On principle, we will not participate in this event. This is a diabolical reality that we will not be a part of. Okay, so there was no conspiracy, there was no Jewish cabal, there was no Peterson SAAD puppet mastering of the situation. We were asked our opinion, we weighed in, discussed the pros and cons, and then the ultimate decision lay with the organizer. Now, I should mention that many people, this individual who's speaking to you included, wondered about why Faith Goldy would have been a participant in this event. This is not to be disrespectful to Faith. I don't know much about her other than she's interviewed me once for the Rebel TV, and it was a very nice exchange that we had. I believe I had also seen her on one or two occasions on Sun TV, which is now a defunct television station that was operative for a few years in Canada. So I didn't know much about her, but frankly, this was an event about the stifling of free speech on university campuses. The other people who were participating are all professors or lecturers at the university who've been part of that ecosystem, and who have been fighting for these issues within that ecosystem. And so it's rather easy to understand why we would have been included. And so the fact that Faith was no longer included is not such a shock, if only from the perspective that it wasn't clear what was the unique voice that she would have lent to the discussion when she was originally asked to be part of the conversation. So that's the reality. There's no conspiracy. There's no removing her freedom of speech. That's what I meant by there's a pragmatism. So, for example, when I decide whether I wish to walk down a dark alley or not, and I see 4 young men there, I might decide to avoid that dark alley while recognizing that most young men are perfectly nice and lovely. I do so because I know that from a statistical perspective, young men are more likely to engage in violence, and so I decide to take another road that doesn't make me a coward, that makes me someone who lives in the real world. And so it's quite rich for some of the anonymous armchair faux outrage folks who are now angry at us for having accepted the injustice to Faith to be spewing this garbage at us, when many of us have to have security when we walk around in many places because of the positions that we take. So walk a day in our shoes and then come back to us and lecture to us about freedom of speech and the importance of freedom of speech and so on. I should also mention that I noticed that there were many incredible Jew-hating comments that came from folks who were angry at what took place with Faith Goldy. In other words, a lot of the supporters of Faith Goldy seem to have a rather dire view of Jews. Now, I don't wish to engage in guilt by association, but there is an expression in French that goes something like this: Dis-moi qui sont tes amis et je te dirai qui tu es. Let me translate for you. Tell me who your friends are and I'll tell you who you are. So I'll just point to the fact that there's been a lot of Jew hatred that has come at us from Faith Goldy supporters. Think about that for a moment. In any case, I should also mention that Faith Goldy means nothing to me. In other words, I don't like her or dislike her. She's insignificant to my life. But I do want to say one thing, not to make this personal. Several people reached out to her. Jordan reached out to her, Serena reached out to her, and Oren reached out to her. And I joked at the end of in the Q&A period, and I said, oh, so I'm the asshole who's the only one who didn't reach out to her. I was being self-deprecating there just to sort of be charitable toward her. But the reality is I don't see the need. I don't see the need to reach out to her. It wasn't my decision to invite her or not invite her. But in any case, people were truly very, very sensitive to her feelings and reached out to her and talked to her, precisely knowing that she might be upset by this decision. And frankly, she was at first very gracious in her response. She sort of understood it. She wasn't happy about it, but she was respectful. She understood it. So the fact that now she tweeted the tweet that set off this whole faux outrage levied at us is frankly vindictive and unnecessary. In other words, what she decided to do is she's not happy with what transpired. And despite the fact that we had left off back in August on very good terms, it had been festering in her, and she decided to open up a can of worms again and ultimately have tons of people levy all sorts of ugliness at folks who ultimately had nothing to do with the ultimate decision. So there you have it, folks. I know that I'm going to receive a lot of new hate and gas the Jews and you're a Jew and Jew, hate the Jews. So look for all of that in the comments section. I'm opening myself up to a lot of hate. I could have just ignored it, but frankly, it's a bit frustrating to have all of these folks levy all of this nonsense at us when really we're all doing this simply because of our convictions. As we said, it was a difficult situation, and we listened, we weighed in, we offered our opinion to the organizer, and ultimately this was the decision that was taken by the organizer, and none of us have anything to feel ashamed about or feel as though we were being hypocritical. It wasn't for us to be hypocritical or not, or to feel ashamed or unashamed about anything. We simply were asked to participate in an event, and we came and participated to the best of our abilities. Have a good day. Talk to you soon. Ciao.